My father died under circumstances that no one could quite explain. Officially, they said it was a sudden heart attack, but something in me, something that had always whispered of darker truths, told me there was more to his death than met the eye. I'd always been a distant son, never really close to the man whose face I barely remembered. Yet when he passed, a gnawing need to know the truth took over, a need that would lead me down a path I could never have imagined. I arrived at the old family cabin in northern Maine, a crumbling, weather-beaten house isolated on the edge of a dense forest. The cabin, built by my father with rough-hewn timber and stone, looked as if it had been plucked from a nightmare. Its narrow, warped windows let in a feeble light, and the salty tang of the nearby sea mixed with the earthy musk of decay. Every creak of the floorboards and every whisper of the wind against the walls seemed to murmur secrets of the past. Determined to find answers, I began my search in the study, a room that had been locked ever since his death. I spent hours combing through dusty drawers and hidden corners until I discovered a faded photograph tucked behind a loose panel. The picture was sepia-toned, depicting a much younger version of my father standing with a mysterious, hooded man deep in the woods. On the back, in spidery handwriting, was a single sentence: "Our blood holds the key. Unlock the truth." Attached was a small, intricately designed key that still felt warm in my hand, as if it were infused with some hidden energy. That key led me to a secret compartment beneath his desk. Inside, I found my father's personal diary, its pages filled with erratic scribbles, cryptic symbols, and desperate notes about the awakening and clandestine gatherings under the light of a full moon. One entry, dated just days before his death, sent shivers down my spine. "Tonight, the legacy calls. The ritual must be fulfilled. Our blood must seal the covenant. Even if it costs me my life, I must ensure our fate endures." The more I read, the more I realized that our family had harbored a dark secret for generations, a secret steeped in occult rituals and ancient power. My father's words hinted at a forbidden ceremony involving an entity known only by the name Caliban. I had never heard of it before, but the name pulsed on the page with an almost tangible malevolence. I needed answers, so I ventured into the nearby town. The locals were tight-lipped and wary, their eyes darting nervously whenever I mentioned my father's name or the mysterious Caliban. At a dilapidated general store, I caught sight of a hooded figure lingering near the entrance. Every time I turned, that figure seemed to melt into the shadows. One chilly evening, as I left the store, I felt someone following me. I quickened my pace, heart pounding, until I finally spun around. The stranger's face was hidden in deep shadow, but their voice, barely above a whisper, reached my ears. "The dead speak here. Listen closely." I couldn't shake that warning. That night, the wind howled outside like a chorus of lost souls, and sleep eluded me. Instead, I pored over the diary by candlelight, each page fueling my unease. I began to notice recurring symbols, the same twisted designs scrawled in the margins, and wondered if they were markers of something more sinister than mere superstition. Compelled by equal parts dread and determination, I decided to follow the clues to an old cemetery mentioned in the diary. The cemetery lay on the outskirts of town, overgrown and neglected, its tombstones tilted and moss-covered. As dusk fell, the sky bruised purple and red, and the atmosphere became heavy with an otherworldly presence. I wandered among the graves until I came upon one that seemed out of place, a fresh mound of dirt where a headstone should have been. A sense of foreboding gripped me. Had someone been erasing the past, or worse, burying secrets that were never meant to be found? As I stood there, the sound of footsteps echoed behind me. I turned sharply, and there, in the fading light, was the hooded figure again. This time, their eyes glowed with an almost fanatical intensity. They spoke softly, their voice carrying the weight of inevitability. "The legacy demands its due. You are one of us, born of cursed blood." Before I could react, the figure slipped away into the gloom. My mind raced. Was this warning meant for me, or was I simply caught in a trap of my own making? Determined to confront the mystery head-on, I returned to the cabin. The storm that night was relentless, with rain lashing at the windows and thunder shaking the very foundations of the house. I set up camp in the study, diary in hand, as I tried to piece together the fragments of my father's final days. It wasn't long before a heavy knock shattered the silence. I hesitated, the weight of dread pressing on me, but curiosity pushed me to answer. The door burst open to reveal a group of people, faces half hidden by shadow and zeal, stepping into the room. They chanted in a language that sent shivers down my spine, their voices rising and falling in a rhythm that resonated with something deep within me. A tall man with a rugged, almost feral look stepped forward. His eyes burned with a manic intensity as he said, "You are the heir. Your father knew this day would come. The blood of our ancestors flows through you, and tonight, the covenant must be honored." Before I could protest, they bound my wrists and forced me into a circle drawn on the floor with symbols that matched those in the diary. The tall man produced a small, ornate amulet, a dark relic carved with strange, twisting motifs, and pressed it against my forehead. The amulet burned with an intensity that seared my skin, and as it touched me, I felt a surge of energy that was not my own. In that instant, the room seemed to dissolve around me. The rhythmic chanting crescendoed, and I felt an overwhelming force invading my mind. A dark, primordial power that pulsed through my veins like liquid fire. In a torrent of visions, I saw fragments of a past I never lived. Clandestine ceremonies in moonlit clearings, ancestors wielding powers beyond mortal comprehension, and the terrifying visage of an ancient entity known as Caliban. I screamed, a sound swallowed by the storm and the relentless incantations. The power surged, tearing at the edges of my identity, and I realized with a dawning horror that this was no random act. It was the fulfillment of a destiny my father had chosen for me. The cultists knelt in a mix of reverence and despair, and the tall man intoned softly, "The debt is paid." In that moment, a part of me died and another awoke, a part that belonged to the dark legacy of our bloodline. I felt the ancient force root itself deep within me, its energy a constant, unyielding presence. It was both a curse and a gift, a power that promised to unravel the mysteries of my lineage, but at a terrible cost. With the chaos swirling around me, I managed to break free from my bindings. I tore myself away from the circle, stumbling out into the tempestuous night. Rain mingled with my tears as I fled into the woods, the burning amulet still pressed to my skin. Every step I took was haunted by the realization that I was no longer the same person who had once sought the truth. Something inside me had been irrevocably changed. Now, as I sit under the jaundiced glow of a flickering street lamp in a small, unfamiliar town far from that haunted cabin, I can still hear the echo of the chants, the whisper of the legacy that now dwells within me. I have become both the investigator and the living embodiment of a secret I never knew I carried. My father's death was not an isolated tragedy. It was the spark that ignited a chain of events stretching back through generations of cursed blood and dark rituals. The power that flows within me is relentless and unforgiving. I no longer know if I can ever rid myself of this ancient force, or if I should even want to. The legacy of our family has always been written in our blood, etched into our very souls. And while I search for more answers about the man my father was, and the destiny that awaits me, I realize that some truths are too monstrous to be left buried. So, if you ever find yourself questioning the secrets that lie behind your family's history, remember this: the past is never truly gone. It lingers, waiting for the moment to awaken within you, to reveal the terrible, irresistible power of your bloodline. I'm living proof that once these secrets emerge, nothing will ever be the same again. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Stay curious, but be careful what you uncover. Some legacies are better left in the shadows.